All right, we have the sample size equation, and this one on the left is when you're given, you want to find the sample size about a mean, and how you know this is the sigma, so the standard deviation. So what I did is I just kind of added this extra stuff in here. This right here is just to remind me what the formula looks like. And so notice if I have a 99% confidence level, what I'm having to look up is 0.995. And the reason is here. The middle is 99%, but then you have 1% left over, right? Well, that 1% has to be cut in half. And so that's what's happening here. You can see what I did is I took this value and then I added 1 minus that value, that confidence, divided by 2. And so this is the value that I'm looking at. And again, I just put this in a formula, so I would only have to do it once. Then I enter in a standard deviation. This was just an example that I had. And then the error. So the Z value is found with this norms INV, and then look up this value in this cell right here. And then my N takes my Z. Oh, I'm like, what's going on here? I'm looking at the wrong formula. So it takes my Z times my standard deviation divided by the error, all that in parentheses, and then squares it. So I could do the same thing for a proportion. So notice it says when the proportion is known. So let's put all these things in here. I know I'm going to need an N. I'm going to just use this for my Z, because why recreate it, right? And then my P, my Q, and then my E. So when the sample proportion, if I can get it out, is known, then you type it in here, and then you do 1 minus that value. Okay, would go here. So let's say that the proportion is 0.19, and so my Q then would be 1 minus, right? Because P is the proportion for, and Q is the portion against. All probabilities have to add to 1. All right, and then I don't know why it's suggesting that. And then this problem gives me a margin of error of 0.35. And it tells me that it wants somewhere 99%. So it looks like all of this is okay, and that's going to be my Z value. So what I can do then is look at my formula here now, and I am going to put the top all in parentheses. So I take my Z value, I square it, times my P times my Q, and I close the top, and then I divide by my E squared. So all I did was recreate this formula right here. When I hit enter, it automatically gives me my answer, and I can even go wherever it is up here, and I can oops, wrong one, decrease the decimal, because you always want to round up. So you you want to look at this decimal place here, because this one is going to round up. But even if this was 833.1, you would still round up to 834. Now, the only difference is if you do not know. Like if it says, if prior research, you have no information, then what happens is half the time you get a success, half the time you wouldn't get a success. And so that's the only thing that would change in this formula. But I think this is worthwhile actually setting this up, because these formulas are horrible. And, you know, once again, to be able to get, especially the Z value, but now that I have this set up, all I have to do is change these values here. I tend to color code things and say, okay, these are the only ones that I will touch. This one I won't touch, but I need to go back and change my Z.